We are the Arkansas Municipal League. We're a service and advocacy organization for the 500 cities and towns in the state of Arkansas. We lobby for them at the state and federal level for government. We provide them with programs and services in order for them to run their cities and towns efficiently. And we also provide them with meetings and to impart information like this 84th convention that we're having now. During our 84th convention, the municipal officials across Arkansas will be discussing the opioid epidemic, which is very, very prevalent in the state of Arkansas, unfortunately. We'll be giving them the latest and greatest information as far as the litigation that we have filed on behalf of the cities, towns, and counties in the state of Arkansas, as well as legal updates affecting jails. And we will have a variety of workshops. As a matter of fact, on Thursday afternoon, we'll have concurrent workshops, 3 different time segments. We'll have 7 workshops on the first time frame, 7 on the second time frame, and then 4 workshops on that last time frame. So it's a great afternoon for our city officials to grab hold of information that they need to better run their cities.
The Arkansas Municipal League has constructed an incredibly unique model where we have joined with the County Association and another risk management pool, PERMA. And that joint group means we have every county in the state and well over 90, getting close to 95% of the population of the state in the cities that are being represented, probably close to 400 cities now. So we're doing great. It's a very unique thing. Nobody else in the country is doing it, and I think the fact that local government gets along here so well and wants to do the right thing for Arkansas will make all the difference in the world with this really horrible epidemic.
The Arkansas Municipal League lawsuit, in conjunction with our other partners at the counties and the cities, has sued 65 defendants in Crittenden County. They principally fall into 4 groups. The first group is the manufacturers of the opioids. The second group are the distributors who are responsible for getting those drugs from the manufacturers to the pharmacies. And then the other group are either doctors or pharmacists who have lost their license or been subject to criminal prosecution by the state or federal authorities for running pill mills, as most people would know them.
The lawsuit seeks a variety of damages, both things that we have suffered from our first responders having to pull extra shifts, costs of Narcan, things like that. But it also looks forward for what we can do to correct this problem over the next 5 to 10 years. That's really where the hard equation is. How do we help people that have this problem? What do we do to recuperate our work product and our viable workers in society? So we have a lot of educational work to do, a lot of treatment work to do, and a lot of prevention work to do. And that's all over time, and that costs money.
This lawsuit is important to find a way to remedy the opioid crisis in Arkansas. What we have seen from city leaders and county leaders is they recognize that revenues are going to be needed and necessary in order to come up with the resources necessary to remediate this problem in their communities. They have, I think, shown great foresight and judgment and decided that they don't think the taxpayers of their communities should have to pay for this. It ought to be the people who made the mess in the first place.
When I was going to Georgia, University of Georgia, I'd come back and shoot delighted with my buddies during spring break, Christmas break. And then I'd go back to Georgia and forget it. That wasn't a problem for me. When I got my PhD and I got the night of postdoctoral fellowship and I came back here to UAMS to work in the pharmacology toxicology department with Don McMillan, working in the area of behavioral pharmacology, I'd go with my friends and go out and shoot delighted occasionally. And my friends were putting as many pills of Dilaudid as they could up their veins. And some of them had really good jobs. I mean, this is back when Alcoa and Reynolds was rolling. They had really good jobs and they couldn't pay their rent. And I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, what's going on? What's wrong with you? Why can't you stop? And then I knew the book definition of addiction. I knew what the book said addiction was. I worked in the field. I still couldn't understand. But of course I did understand because I got in that bottle of methadone hydrochloride and I did something with it that I hadn't done with the heroin or the Dilaudid. I started shooting that methadone every day. Then I started shooting it 2 or 3 times a day. And I told myself the whole time, that I could stop. When I wanted to, I could stop. And I believed that. Right up until the time I couldn't stop. Did I try and stop? Oh yeah, I tried to stop. I tried to stop that everything I was, everything in me, I tried to stop. I fought with myself. I struggled with myself to not go out and use, to not do that. And then I'd go out and use. And I couldn't understand that. That was the most mystifying thing to me, that I couldn't control my own behavior, no matter how much I wanted not to use. I'd use. So I finally understood what was going on with my friends. I finally understood the book definition of addiction, what it really meant. It means you can't stop. No matter how much you want to, no matter how much you try, you can't stop. No one understands what it is to live an opioid addiction until you're living an opioid addiction. And then it's just a little late. We don't enjoy doing these things. If anybody thinks the life of heroin or opioid addiction is fun, let me disabuse you of that. This life is not fun. It is a living hell. People say we love our drugs more than we love our families. That is not true. That is not true. When we hurt the people we love, we hurt too. But we don't understand why we're doing these things. We can't explain it to them. We can't explain why we take our father's shotgun and go hawk it. We can't explain why we take money out of our mother's purse when her back is turned, because we don't understand it either. Nobody's told us this is an acquired disease of brain structure and function, and this is why you can't stop. So we keep trying to stop. We keep saying, oh, I'll stop next week, I'll do somehow, I'll make it next week. This is the thing. When we have these opioids in us, when we have these exogenous opioids within our brain, we're normal. And when you talk to us and we say, I'm so sorry, I won't do this again, I promise, I won't. We mean it because we're okay then. We're sincere, and that's why you keep believing us. But over time, as these opioids metabolize out of our body and we start starving again, all those promises we made, all the things that we really believed we were going to do, we don't do them. We go back out and we use again. And the people that love us are hurt. They don't understand how we could lie to them like that. We weren't lying, we were trying. But this starvation we have for the opioids, it drives us to keep using. And we run out of options. After we've been using for a while and we're starting to have to spend $60, $80, $100, $200 a day just to get what we need to survive that day, we run out of options and we start doing things. Are they good things? Of course they're not good things. Do we enjoy doing them? No, we do not enjoy doing them. Again, this is not a fun life. But we were put in a situation to where we don't have any options. It's like being on a hamster wheel. And every day you're just spinning in that hamster wheel. Life's moving around you, and you're stuck on this hamster wheel, just spinning, doing the same things every day, just trying to make it through each day. When you're in an opioid addiction, there is no such thing as tomorrow. Tomorrow, it doesn't matter. Tomorrow is an abstraction. The only thing that matters is today. The only thing that matters is the hunger today and stopping that hunger. That's what matters. Opioid addiction is a chronic recurring acquired disease of brain structure and function manifested as behavior directed towards the survival of the individual. It is a disease. It is not a choice.
I guess I want to start out by thanking Dr. Sam Snodgrass for his courage and ability to recover from something that a lot of times becomes a lifetime to recover. That it's so easy to become addicted, but a lot of people don't realize that it may take the rest of their life to keep their sobriety.
175 people a day die in this country from opioids. That means in the hour we're going to spend during this presentation, we will lose 7 Americans. 7 people will die while we're talking about opioids. A child is born every 25 minutes with neonatal abstinence syndrome. 2 addicted babies will be born before we finish this presentation. It is soberingly scary. Kirk talked about the prescription rate in Arkansas, and the only place where it's higher is my home of Alabama. But there's a potential and real lethality that comes with lacing heroin with fentanyl. And Mark talked about the quality control. The problem is the fentanyl is not mixed homogeneously with the heroin. It's not uniformly distributed. It's like making chocolate chip cookies. You put the batter in the bowl, you add the chocolate chips, you stir it up, you start to put them out. Well, one cookie's going to have 7 chips and one cookie's going to have 4 chips. The chips are the fentanyl molecules. So the addict may take the cookie with 4 chips and be just fine, and when he's ready to take his second dose, he gets 7 chips and he's dead. And we even talked about carfentanil. And I guess on this subject, I'd kind of like to end there and ask Kirk a question. That 1 gram sweet and low packet of fentanyl, if that's carfentanil, how many deadly doses are we talking about in a gram?
You know, carfentanil can be 100 times more potent than fentanyl. So fentanyl is 50 times more potent than heroin, and heroin is twice as potent as morphine. So if you saw Private Ryan in that movie, they give somebody morphine to deal with that pain right there. Heroin is twice as potent as that. Fentanyl is 50 times more potent than that, and carfentanil can be over 100 times more potent than that. So, you know, the other thing of it, a kilogram, which is 1,000 grams, and you see it on the shows, of cocaine or methamphetamine may run somebody $16,000 to $20,000. A kilogram of fentanyl on the internet, on the dark web, $3,700. So there's a great amount of money to be made. That's why the attraction of fentanyl that mainly comes from China, or the precursors are now coming from China being produced in Mexico. So a very dangerous substance. The danger with fentanyl also is it can be absorbed through the skin. It can be inhaled, and it can become deadly. So if somebody, we had a grandmother in Pennsylvania whose grandson overdosed. She came in to clean up his room. She wiped the table off. It had a light amount of powder on it, and it killed her. A 10-year-old in Florida wipes his face on a towel at a public pool that had fentanyl on it, and it killed that child. We're seeing it day in, day out. So your officers in your communities need to be aware of naloxone. They need to be educated about fentanyl dangers, because they are basically come into contact with people that are using this. I think in one of the rankings that we have that is most disturbing to me is we're second in the nation as of 2016 of the highest prescribing rate. And it's 114.6 prescriptions for every 100 people, with the national average being 66.5. It demonstrates to us that we're a very opioid dependent population, and it makes it a perfect storm for people that abuse prescription and also abuse illicit heroin and fentanyl to make it very dangerous and very deadly for Arkansans.
What can be done on a daily basis to improve the situation?
You know, it's a multifaceted issue that needs a multifaceted resolution. You know, there are various programs in enforcement and various programs in prevention and various programs for treatment for Arkansans that everybody and anybody can get involved with and understand. I think the biggest thing is understanding it, education, and again, that willingness to change what we have been doing to try to do better by our people for their health and welfare.
The solution is to start treating this as the disease it is. Instead of looking at this as a criminal justice problem, instead of looking at this as people who use opioids are bad people just doing bad things, we need to understand that this is a chronic but treatable, manageable disease. If we will look at it like that, if we will see people who use opioids not as bad people, but just as people who need help, and provide programs with them, for them, harm reduction programs, provide effective medication for these people. Now, I'm not talking about beds and rehabs, I'm talking about medications that actually control the disease process, then we can help stop this epidemic.
O'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Well, good morning and welcome to the opening general session of the 84th Annual Convention of the Arkansas Municipal League. I'm Mayor Doug Sprouse, City of Springdale. I'm currently your league president. He's everybody's governor, and he has done a tremendous job and a great friend to the cities of the state of Arkansas. So please give a warm, rousing Arkansas Municipal League welcome to our governor, Asa Hutchinson.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Sprouse, for your friendship and for your leadership. I want to thank everyone for the welcome today, but more importantly, I just want to thank you for your leadership of our great cities across Arkansas. And without your leadership, we falter as a state. We are a state of small communities, by and large. We do have some larger communities, but we are a state of small communities led by mayors that do an incredible job in terms of economic development, solving problems, and meeting the needs of the people that you represent. And not only do you do a great job as mayors across our great state, but the Municipal League as an organization plays a very important role in monitoring legislation, raising issues that are unique to cities. And so it's been my pleasure to work with the leadership of the Municipal League and your leadership to make sure that the legislators and myself were knowledgeable about how legislation impacts you. And guess what? We've got another session right around the corner next year. And now let's talk about the future. I mentioned the 2019 general session of the legislature. Yes, get ready. We need to have more tax cuts. Now, why do we? Because you all like tax revenue. I mean, we're elected officials. You know, you're dependent upon that budget and balancing that budget. We have needs in our community. And the reason we need to have a tax cut is because our future has to be based upon economic growth. It is about attracting industry here and our existing industry expanding, and it is about not losing capital that is created here and it leaves for other states. That is growth, and that is the solution long-term to any challenges that we have in this state in terms of meeting essential needs. And so we right now have too high of an income tax rate, the highest in the region, and yes, you know about people going to Texas or Florida or Tennessee because of their low income tax rate or no income tax rate. We've got to compete with that. And so we have a long-term goal of lowering that. I ask you to be supportive of that. Trust me that we take it in bites that we can handle, and meet our obligations to our citizens and our state, but it is a continuing need that we have. The Municipal League has just been an extraordinary partner. They understand the balance and the relationship you have to have with the state, but when it's reviewing legislation, when it's sorting through problems, and when it's advocating for their membership, the Municipal League does an extraordinary job to support the cities, and we couldn't get the job done without them.
My message here today is that there's a lot of opportunities happening within the workforce right now, but there's also challenges. The future of work is changing the nature of how we work, what we do, who we work with. Technology tools from automation to artificial intelligence are changing how we work. So if you think about something like autonomous vehicles, it's taking away the driver, but at the same time, it's creating an opportunity for us to use vehicles that are much cheaper as we share autonomous vehicles. And it can also get vehicles off the street. And so this is the dichotomy that we're in right now, where work is changing. We don't necessarily know what the new jobs are, but if we deliberately work together with state and federal governments to kind of think about what this might be, there's great opportunities for the future. The future of work refers to changes in the way jobs are structured, how income is distributed, and the skills that the modern economy demands. These changes are brought on primarily by advancements in technology, an increase in trade, and shifting demographics. This is going to look a little different for different parts of Arkansas. For instance, the economy in Little Rock in the Northwest looks different than the economy in the Delta region. But in the end, all regions will be affected by the vast workforce shifts ahead. Like many states throughout the South, Arkansas population is shifting from rural to urban areas. A majority of Arkansas's 75 counties are projected to lose population, while just 4 counties saw growth of more than 5% from 2012 to 2017. The economy is changing, so it's especially important for the cities here to pursue resilient economic growth. And these strategies aptly apply directly to Arkansas, a state filled with small cities and towns. The overarching idea is to let those smaller communities focus on what they're good at and to innovate based on that. Here are 3 case studies of other cities and towns doing just that. The first one we looked at was Paducah, Kentucky. It has a population of about 25,000, and it was recently named the UNESCO Creative City. It presents an interesting case of urban renewal on a small scale. As recently as the 1980s, its classic Main Street was mostly vacant. But following $100 million in investment and an artist relocation program, the historic district now generates $200 million in annual tourist revenue. The 1857, which is a 10-room boutique hotel and a historic building, is a testament to the town's reinvention. It's a great example of a diversified economy and really figuring out what you can work with that's best in your community. Next up, we looked at North Adams, Massachusetts, which is a town with a population of about 14,000. The city of North Adams is focused on entrepreneurship and the arts as 2 key strategies. In February, it placed in the top 3 in the nation Small Business Revolution competition, which provided the winner with $500,000 to support local businesses. And this idea of how we can build entrepreneurship and support local businesses is really key. And at the same time, the Massachusetts Museum of Contemporary Art opened Building 6, a 130,000 square foot expansion of the museum in May, resulting in hundreds of new jobs. The final city we looked at was Richmond, Virginia, which is about the size of Little Rock. We've highlighted their strategies in our upcoming report. I'd like to spotlight a program called Plugged In Virginia. Plugged In Virginia is a career pathway partnership with the Department of Education that prepares traditional and non-traditional students with adult education programs and supplemental support. Private partnerships with businesses give student internships, shadowing, and interview experiences. All those things that you need to get that fresh start, that good start going. Additionally, access to placement makes Plugged In Virginia valuable to its 10 community college partners, and it focuses on top growth occupations in the region. Experts have called it an avenue out of poverty for at-risk adult learners. And in many ways, it's not as much about job retraining as job rethinking. And I want to say that again, it's not job retraining, it's job rethinking. That's what we all can do together. And finding ways to transfer skill sets from jobs that are highly automatable to jobs that have low automatability. As examples, personal care aides can become childcare workers. Cooks and food prep workers can go into first-line food prep. Billing clerks can become administrative support workers. All of these are going from declining areas into areas that are actually growing. And while some of these transitions might see a decrease in wages, many will actually see similar wages or increased wages, so not really impacting the pay at all.
The whole issue of our educational system, taking kids early enough in the system and educating them about the fact that there are very good and valuable jobs that a certificate can provide them the opportunity and the background. So those apprenticeships, all of those kinds of programs. We're going to need welders, we're going to need HVAC people, plumbers. A lot of baby boomers are aging out of this. It's hard to find a skilled craftsman. Trying to find a finished carpenter is not an easy thing in many instances. And so I think we've got an opportunity there to really begin to take those and to try and elevate those kinds of jobs that do pay a very good wage and get those into our school system with our VOTEC programs.
We have a trainable workforce. We have an industry in Eudora, Arkansas, Superior Surgical, Eudora Garment, that is actually robotic as we speak now, and they were trained. So we do have a trainable workforce. We have our Lakeside elementary school kids, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, went to the robotics state. Then they advanced to the nationals this year, and we were very proud to say that they finished 34th out of 389 teams national.
But as a vice mayor, I'm an elected official, but I have a normal job. My normal job is I'm the plant manager of Exide Technologies in Fort Smith, Arkansas. So I make industrial-sized 2-volt batteries in Fort Smith. I'm an engineer. I'm a chemical engineer by trade from Fayetteville, and I was an engineer for 16 years as an engineering manager. So some of the automations he talked about today, I have firsthand knowledge. So the first question I got for everybody out there is, this didn't exist 12 years ago. How many of you have a smartphone today? Can you imagine your life today without it? That didn't exist 12 years ago. So think about how you've evolved in the past 12 years with technology as simple as a smartphone. I've put in robots. I have no clue how to do a robot. I had to learn that, had to program it. Those are the skill sets at my plant that I see starting to evolve in the community. Today, our community, we're starting to see automation in our water and sewer treatment plants. So instead of having an operator push buttons and do certain knobs, they're having to have to read computer screens and know what the alarms mean. Well, that's a soft skill, and that's a technical skill. At the same time, you gotta have the technical skill to program that. You gotta have people in your community that can do that automation for you. Or you gotta hire somebody in-house to learn all that. Think about street lights. Streetlights today are all PLC-based, camera-based controlled. No longer push-button switches and just based on the timer. They're all flowing through how to make traffic flow better. Those are the technical skills that you're starting to see in communities today that are going to transform your cities. So the large city like Fort Smith and Little Rock have those issues. Down in Lake Village, she has a great opportunity. Summertime, there's traffic coming through her town, everybody going to the beach. So she's got the same problem there. So as you look at your cities, look at what technical skills that you'll need to have. Those are what we're seeing in Fort Smith, because they don't have classes for some of those skills. You got some that could be hands-on training, apprenticeships. As Mayor Stolas talked about, electricians, welders, plumbers. I've dealt with all those contractors. Those are skills that you have to have in your communities, not for the private sector, but also the public sector.
I think Arkansas, like many states in the South, is finding that a lot more people are moving into urban areas and rural areas are losing population. And so this creates some challenges within the rural communities. But I think Arkansas is leading, just like many other states. And again, I think it's working these partnerships, really thinking about what kind of assets do you have within your community to build upon, and then innovating. And that's what local leaders do best, is innovate.
The Arkansas Municipal League has been a tremendous benefit to me as an elected official. I'm in my 10th year as a mayor, and no matter what position you're elected to, you get into things, and there are things you need to learn and be brought up to speed on that you have no way of knowing until you're in the position. And I know that every elected official in Arkansas can relate to that. And the league is such a valuable resource. The programs that are offered to help cities govern better, and the educational offerings of the league, just invaluable.
The topic of our workshop today is dilapidated and abandoned structures, as well as dealing with out-of-state property owners. It's a huge problem. It really doesn't matter whether you're a small town or a large metropolitan area like Little Rock. I think it's pretty common throughout the state to be dealing with property owners who don't keep their structures in appliance with the code. And so one of the things that we're trying to do is to try and spread some of the information that we've gleaned through the process of code enforcement in Hot Springs.
What would you like to see happen? What's a possible solution for this problem?
Everyone being proactive. Each community is responsible for the structures within it and responsible for those structures adhering to the Arkansas Fire Prevention Codes. And there are 3 codes that are applicable the state's adopted. There's Volume 1, which is a fire code, Volume 2, which is a building code, and Volume 3, which is a residential code. And each one of these different code documents is applicable to the different types of structures and occupancies throughout the state of Arkansas.
The topic of this particular workshop is land use challenges, annexation, 2000 census, and more. It's important because with the 2020 census coming up and deadlines for annexation maps being turned into the Census Bureau, if cities want to annex to get credit for population, the deadline's rapidly approaching. Federal census, the decennial census, is a tool that the federal government uses to distribute an estimated $675 billion to state and local governments all over the country. And it's used in one way or another, even at the distribution of state turnback funds for cities and counties, and so it's very important.
This workshop is Complete Streets and Livable Communities. This workshop is important because livable communities create healthy communities, and the most successful cities of the future will be the healthiest cities. And so a lot of cities in Arkansas are really working towards how they can provide access to healthy living, healthy food, and build our infrastructure out in such a way that people don't have to get in their car every time they need to go somewhere. In Bryant specifically, we have had the opportunity to build a lot of sidewalks connecting our schools to our neighborhoods and our neighborhoods to our parks. And we have a master plan now that over the next 20 years we will build it out, and it will create abundant pedestrian access to those schools.
Our workshop dealt with community policing. Community policing is interacting with the citizens in your community to get a better understanding of what the problems and the needs are from the people that you serve. All sorts of success. We try to think of new and inventive ways to do different things, to get involved with those individuals that we serve. Very good response. A lot of people like to talk to us. We even are down to our uniforms and how it's some of our Class B uniforms that we wear is a softer approach to it. It doesn't look as intimidating versus the Class A, all the way to just having different events throughout the city to where we show up at and we interact with them. One of them is a video that was done at our talk where we partnered with a local vendor on ice cream, and then we showed up at the splash pad there at Tyndall Park, and we gave out free ice cream cones and stuff to the kids and the parents that were there, just to kind of say, hey, we appreciate you, and hey, give us a chance to talk to you. If there's any problems that are going on, we want to know about it. That way we can assist you.
Our workshop today was on business and economic development. I really presented how housing is a part of economic development for communities. When you have housing, of course, more housing you create jobs, construction jobs, and that really provides work for the people in the community. It's all about private-public partnerships, and I think communities have to learn how to work closely and build relationships with all levels of government, federal government, again, state and local. And that's what it's going to take, because in order for communities to thrive, we're going to have to work together, and we're going to have to be strong partners. And again, public-private partnerships is the name of the game.
Our workshop today is about volunteerism and trying to grow volunteerism in your community by finding out exactly what we don't have. And I think that we learned that we had a lot of redundancy, even though we had a lot of people. And the other thing we found out is we had a lot of people who weren't volunteering who wanted to, they just didn't know how. And so we created a one-stop shop, and we've got a portal on the city website. People can go and volunteer, sign up to volunteer. And it's grown, it's helped, it's not done, nothing is ever complete, but increasing the teamwork among all the volunteer outlets has really helped Jonesboro.
The topic of our workshop was the Americans with Disabilities Act, specifically the city facilities and accessibility to city facilities and services, and whether they are compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act. It's important because there is the cities and towns facilities and services were supposed to be in compliance with the ADA by early 1994, 1995, and they are not in large part. It's a very large topic. It's a very intimidating topic, and so we were hoping to sort of provide more access to our city officials to the ADA so that they can hopefully start working towards making their cities and towns more accessible. My advice to the municipalities around Arkansas would be to phone a friend. If you haven't created a transition plan or evaluated your city's services and facilities for ADA compliance, you should. And in doing so, or after doing so, start taking efforts to bring those city services and facilities into compliance.
Our workshop today dealt with helping cities find grants for their communities. We have a grant finder database at the National League of Cities that has upwards of 8,000 grants available for communities all across the country. So we have this as a direct member service, so it's free for all members. And we've completely targeted this much more at smaller communities. That's why we brought this on board, because we wanted to make sure we had a resource for communities that might not have grants administrators within those communities.
What type of grants are available?
There's grants that run the gamut, from federal to state to nonprofit technical assistance. And they're available in public safety and environmental policy, and economic development, a lot in economic development.
Our workshop today dealt with statutory leave time, military leave under USERRA, and how to comply with the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act when you're dealing with wage and hour issues. So my advice to local municipalities would be to pay attention to these issues and to task someone at your particular town or city with being in charge of making sure that you're up to date on what the law requires.
Today our workshop was based on social media. And I am the social media administrator for the city of Heber Springs, and I came in here today to talk a little bit about how I brought our social media from basically 596 followers on up to over 5,000 followers. Heber Springs is a tourist community, and by letting them know some of the information that I try to put out, not only do they get to hear about it, but also the people that are following us from other cities or other states, they get to know what's going on in Heber Springs as well. So, for instance, if the weather is bad and I'm posting about bad weather, they know that maybe I should skip today and I should go to Heber Springs tomorrow.
Our workshop today dealt with the issues of animal control and positive things that can come out of your animal control shelter. When we decided that we needed to move our animal shelter forward, about 2014, we knew we needed a new direction. We started getting out in our community. We started going and speaking at our local events, speaking at our local organizations, asking people, come adopt our dogs. We started a Facebook page and put the cute little dogs on there. We did the 12 Dogs of Christmas, sponsored by the VFW, and we adopt 12 dogs out at Christmas time with little hats and little bows on their things, on their collars. So we just have worked well with our community and realizing that, we don't want to put these dogs down. Come adopt them.
It's such a networking opportunity to meet with other mayors and other city council members, and so when you're sitting around a table just at breakfast, you can learn what to do or what not to do in your city, and so I think that's great. But the league also then provides us with the hot topics like we just talked about, the opioid issue, and they can tell us how to deal with it, and also they keep abreast of any changes in state law so that we can make sure that we're following the procedures and rules that we need to follow. And they do a great job in the workshops too, teaching us various aspects, whether it be from animal control or to how to do a large capital project.
It's the sharing of ideas and the workshops about how you can make your city better, and we all want to make our cities better. So, we talk about innovation, we talk about infrastructure, we'll talk about social justice while we're here, and how equality for all people, no matter what the color of their skin or their religious belief or what country they come from or who they love. It's all of us as partners in a city and a state and a nation.
You can't stay at home and learn anything, and you have to get out and go to these different workshops to learn about some of the options that we have as small towns, especially to get help, the grant programs and whatsoever that's out there for us that we can get, and then the other programs that are available to us as small towns and cities.
The workshops we have gives an opportunity for everybody in the state, including the city of Fort Smith, to look at different things that help us look, if it's looking at how we look at parks, how we look at social media, how we look at those other issues that we might not think about because we're dealing with the day-to-days. It allows us to see what other cities are doing, other opportunities that we might have to incorporate into our city.
There's no need to reinvent the wheel. It's amazing what you can find just even in between the classes, much less when we're in the classes, the information that, you may think that you know this, but you come to a class and there's something you're like, it's that aha moment, well, I just quite missed that one. So, yeah, it's invaluable what you can learn in the classes and the networking in between the classes.
Arkansas Municipal League is a great organization, and they've been around a long time, and it's just visiting with other mayors, listening to the key speakers, listening to legislative issues that's here. These are all important, and just the fellowship with other mayors, learning, trying not to reinvent the wheel on certain things.
We had a real good workshop in Fort Smith on internet sales and all the difficulties with getting legislation fixed, but they always got something good for you, no matter what it is. Seems like things are constantly changing, and they help us keep up to speed on it. Great folks.
And this is a good conference to network with other mayors and to learn different things in regards to streets. You can learn information about the water departments, pest control, even just how to administer city government in a timely and efficient manner, because the dollar is always tight, and we have to roll our sleeves up and try to pinch it. Every little bit out of every penny.
Well, it's extremely important because I think, number one, the topics are fairly current, real current, and then you have speakers that are not in this area that's talking about other parts of the United States. That's the big key right there. So we're always constantly looking for new ways to do things.
But everybody's goal here is to try to make their city better. And so when we all get together and talk about what we did and where we failed and where we've been successful, it really helps. And the Municipal League of Arkansas is doing a wonderful job in making sure that we're all getting together on a regular basis to talk about our successes.
For one thing, we're learning about the opiate addictions, and we're one of the highest rated ones in the country. I mean, we're right up there at the top with the number of opiates that are prescribed each day. So that was one of those eye-openers that I had not really thought much about. We're always getting new laws. We're told of the new laws that have been enacted that will affect our municipalities, and that's always good. So we learn what the legislature is doing. We get a view from the governor's eye, and we actually go home with some good ideas that we can implement when we get back to our local boards.
Been coming 7 years. Like I said, I was mayor 8 years. My first year I wasn't smart enough to come, but I learned real quick I need the Arkansas Municipal League, one of the best assets any elected official could have, and if you're not coming, you need to come. And right off the bat I was taught my role, and my role is mayor.
West Memphis has the laws of the group to come to this convention, and why we came before more education.
What have you been able to learn here at the convention that'll help you return to your city?
I have learned how to network better with our city and bring in new ideas to our city.
It provides us the opportunity to network with other elected officials around the state. It also gives us the opportunity to bring department heads to the meeting, and so they can visit with vendors and also network with their peers around the state.
This workshop today is Sister Cities International, and in this workshop there'll be 2 cities from Arkansas that will be signing sister city agreements with 2 cities from Ghana in West Africa. Lake Village will be signing. We are looking for a relationship with them in agriculture, in education, medical, and various other areas between us. And we're also looking forward to become aware of their customs as well as them becoming aware of our customs, and possibly an exchange of foreign students. In the agricultural area, what we are anticipating is they're supposed to have a meeting with rice farmers, the possibility of buying rice directly from our farmers. But more than that, this isn't all about what we can gain. It's about us knowing one another and caring for one another.
In Magnolia, we're the home to Southern Arkansas University, one of the fastest growing universities in Arkansas, and we're known as an agricultural school. We're bringing poultry back. We have a 450-acre row crop farm, so we're hopeful to learn a little bit about farming and teach a little bit about farming, and just you know, see what goes on in different countries. We hope to see that coming because, as I said, we have a pretty good farming community in South Arkansas, and we hope to introduce Ghana to the neighboring counties in South Arkansas and let it just see where it goes.
Ghana is prepared and Ghana is ready to partner you to explore all potentials to grow our economy for our mutual benefit. And I would like to assure you that now Ghana is the place to be if you want to engage in determined and forthright leadership who want to develop their countries and develop their business. Ghana is the place to be. I thank you very much for your attention, and I pray that God blesses this twinning, this partnership that we started yesterday and ongoing. Thank you very much.
Today's City Above Self Award winner is working tirelessly and passionately to end the opioid epidemic in Arkansas. It is with great pride that we present this year's John Woodruff City Above Self Award to Arkansas Drug Director Kirk Lane. Kirk.
Overwhelming. I'm kind of speechless a little bit about the award. You know, I'm so proud to partner with the Municipal League and the cities and the counties on this effort. And that's part of my mission, and what I'm tasked to do is build collaborative partners. So receiving this award and having this honor goes without saying.
He is the very reason we will now have an Arkansas judge and jury decide what damages are awarded relating to the Arkansas opioid epidemic. He has been an integral part of our full-out charge against the opioid industry, and we, the Arkansas Municipal League, thank him for his outstanding efforts. Our Person of the Year goes to Scott Ellington. Prosecutor Ellington, please come forward and receive a token of our appreciation.
I don't know how to express my gratitude because it was just such a surprise, and I'm just bowled over. And then I look in the book, and you know, this award's not given every year, and so then it made me feel real special because there are years that they skip not giving the award, and so I thought, wow, that's pretty cool.
Jerry Van Hoos, my predecessor in the city of Springdale, and his first thing he did after I was elected was load me in his car and bring me down here to meet with Don Zimmerman. And that was the beginning of my involvement in the Arkansas Municipal League. Don's leadership and wisdom is evident, even as I work with the staff and as you and I see the staff that he has assembled and the great work they do. I want to thank the city of Springdale and my staff and my city council who have made it possible for me to spend a little extra time in order to serve this year's president. All right, it's time to introduce our new slate of officers. I first want to thank and recognize the selection committee. They have again done an outstanding job, and we're excited about our new slate of officers and what the next year holds. Guys, when I introduce you, please stand and be recognized. Vice President District 1, Mayor Darrell Kirby from Bay. Vice President District 2, Mayor Alan Lipsmeyer, Monticello. Vice President District 3, Mayor Greg Hines from City of Rogers. And Vice President District 4, Mayor Bobby Neal from Smackover. Bobby. And First Vice President, Mayor Harold Perrin from Jonesboro. Harold. And now the moment we've all been waiting for. We get to hear from our new president. And it is my honor and privilege for the first time to introduce Mayor Joe Smith of North Little Rock as your new AML president. Please welcome Joe.
Thank you. There is value to our political process that comes with a diversity of ideas and perspectives provided by different generations of our citizens. Diversity of ideas. Okay, when you sit around our city council, you know, I think 5 of our 8 are retired. And we need a diversity of ideas, and probably you do too with your city council level. The continuity of our fundamental political values and processes is critical to the stability and growth of our community. It's critical. We are not doing what we need to do to bring the younger generation on. The continuity can only be secured by allowing and encouraging the younger generation of adults in our community become engaged in the mechanics of all of our municipal government. All of our municipal government, okay? If you continue to do the things like they've always been done, say, well, we've always done that. We've always done that. If you don't bring diversity of ideas in, you're going to start backing up. Your city is going to start backing up when you try to manage and rule your policies with a bunch of 70-year-olds.
There's no doubt, and it was evidenced today that when I ask everybody at a certain age to sit down or stand up, and we realize that we're trying to govern all of our cities with the older generation, and we have to have the diversity of ideas of a younger generation involved in our planning and in our futures of all of our cities.
We have a great legislative session. We've got a lot of resolutions that we hope that we're going to go out on the Capitol and work with our legislators, and a lot of that really will help all of our cities, regardless of the size of the city. So if we have a great session, and I think we will, under the leadership of our new president, we'll have a great year.
The league means everything to me. I have called the league several times, I can say more than several, and they've always been there. They save cities money, they give cities great advice. You could not have asked for a better league than what we have now here in the state of Arkansas.
The league is a great networking organization to learn what other towns are going through, the different organizations that we're members of, health benefits, property, you know, those things save us a ton of money, and that helps us in our community.
I think the message that really resonated today from our incoming president was the necessity to involve the younger generation and continue to inspire leadership for the future. And so I intend to help in that endeavor as much as I can during the term in this office. And I also plan in this next legislative session to assist the league in any way possible to continue to ensure that we enact good laws in Arkansas and that we correct unintended consequences of bad legislation.
The league means that I can rely on them for guidance in conducting our city business and city operations. I can rely on them and get the information that I need.
The 84th Arkansas Municipal League Convention has been a tremendous success. We have covered a wide range of topics. Our municipal officials have been incredibly excited throughout this time. They're going home armed with the latest and greatest information so they can best do their jobs, and we wish them safe travels.
Bill Borden was so consumed with the idea of service that he was not only willing to forego his wealth, but was willing to devote his life to a life of public service. His mother then turned to the last page in his Bible and read the last two words that Bill Borden wrote shortly before he died. No regrets. No regrets that he had left behind wealth and privilege to pursue a life of public service. No regrets that he was living to live in poverty-like conditions to be of service to others. No regrets for the sacrifice and service that he was willing to make for the benefit of the less fortunate. Well, even though Bill Borden never lived to see or work with the people of Northwest China, his legacy inspired others to pursue his dream. Scholarships were established to assist those devoted to missions. Hospitals were built, and various funds were raised to go towards assisting the people that he never got to serve. Well, over 40 years ago, as a young man filled with passion and a desire to make a difference, I started my journey of public service. Along the way, I've been blessed to work alongside public servants like yourself who understand that dedicating one's life to public service is difficult to describe to those who aren't involved in it like you are. It's like being born with a spiritual hunger to lead a life of meaning. And those of us, including you, the city officials of Arkansas, we understand that this hunger can't be filled by money or fame or power. It can be only filled by the inner peace we get when we're of service to others. And for 28 years, you, the municipal officials of Arkansas, have devoted your careers to public service, and you've been a very special part of my life. Together, we've worked hard in an attempt to make great cities become a great state. And together we've worked hard to provide and improve the quality of life of our citizens. And together we've worked hard to poke holes in the darkness. So today I leave you in a similar fashion as Bill Borden. In the back of my program, I've written these words: no regrets. Thanks for the memories.
If people are interested more in the Arkansas Municipal League, I would encourage them to visit our website, arml.org. We also have a social media presence on the main platforms like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so forth.